What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again. And this time we got Joel of the Almighty Soen. Thank you so much for your time today, man. It's great to be able to talk with you today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yep. So we have the brand new album Imperial coming out very, very soon. Is this just a continuation from what we may have heard on Lotus, or do you think that this is almost like a new start for Soen in a way?
It is a continuation. It's we found. I think we found the sound that we were looking for on Lotus for the first time. We were entirely happy with the production, with what we did. The songs and everything, and we've been continuing on that path. But also, it's more. Imperial is more. We have brought in more traditional metal into the music. Because I think it's something that the scene is lacking today a bit, the progressive metal scene, that traditional metal element, and it's also like it's also great songwriting on the album.
Yeah.
And I think it's our best crafted album so far.
Do you feel that the two singles that you released, Monarch and Antagonist, almost serves as like a clear representation on the direction you took for this album, or is that just like the tip of the iceberg in a way?
I'd say that they stick out a bit. Yeah, there is some tracks on the album that might be more reminiscent, or that will remind you more of Lotus in a way. But I think we when we were about to pick songs, then we intentionally chose songs that we felt had something entirely new, because we liked it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like your music is almost kind of like, I don't know how artists sometimes feel about this term, but like I feel like your music has sort of like an experimental element behind it, having, many different vibes and many different emotions demonstrated. So it almost seems like trying new things is almost part of the songwriting process for every Soen album, right?
Yeah, but I mean, in a way, we don't want to repeat ourselves, just make another album sounding the same. And we also have sort of course, you get inspired and you want to go in new directions and choose new paths to keep your inspiration. So of course, that's what you want to do. You want to experiment with music for your own good, if you like.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Does it start off with like a preconceived idea? Like, do you go into the studio kind of like knowing how you want it to sound, or is there kind of like a lot of trial and error involved?
I mean, no. Yeah, definitely. It's a very what do you say? It's a it's a process. It's just. It goes in iterations or whatever you want it. Like it goes back and forth, trial and error, if you like. Because we experience. We might have a preconceived idea when we start writing, but during the writing process, there's always so much that happens, and I think that one really, really important thing for us is to keep that kind of. Allow that kind of spirit to sort of grow in the music when we do it. We don't over control the music, because what can happen is you sort of, if you control it too much, you end up choking it. You end up strangling it. So if a song is going in a certain direction that you haven't intended it to do, then you should be wise and just follow that. It might sound a bit weird, but yeah. That's usually what happens.
Well, I consider art to be life in a way, so like you don't want to control it too much, otherwise you could suffocate it. So I think it's very cool that there's like a very organic process for your songwriting.
Correct. Yeah.
And when you like look at every album in the song catalog, when you compare like your first album Cognitive to now? Is it almost kind of like a timeline or maybe like a representation or a self-portrait of who you and the rest of the band members currently are in a way?
Yeah, it might be. It might be. But of course, it is. And every record is sort of it's a timestamp. It's sort of it's reflecting the time that you were in at that point when you wrote the album, when you were producing the album. So of course you can follow that. In that sense, you can follow our progress if you listen to the album. Yeah. If I listen to the music, I can really sense that, okay, that was where I was 2010 and 2015 and all that. Yeah. But that is also something that is, it happens, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you almost feel like kind of going to the formation of Soen in a way, like were you all trying to like do something very different from, what like Martin has done with like Opeth and what you've done with Willow Tree? Like were you trying to like do something that you've never done before, or does maybe your previous projects somewhat like influence you in a way?
I think that our previous projects did not have any anything at all to do with what we started to do with Soen. I think both Martin and I had left our bands mentally.
Yeah.
And the thing was, that was how it started with, like the whole foundation of Soen was basically like that we had this like heavy riffs, heavy songs that Martin had written, and then we that was intended probably to have some kind of growl vocals on, or it could have been whatever, I don't know, but when we put my vocals on, that was more clean and had that kind of a different expression. Then something happened, and it was exciting, and it was something that we wanted to go along with. And I think that's sort of the foundation that has built the sound. That is why we have been doing this now for 5 albums. But there has never been any idea to bring in anything from our old projects into it.
Yeah. Do you, as a vocalist, have you always needed to hear the music to come up with the lyrics, or has there ever been a time where maybe you had like a concept or a story in mind and maybe that could help influence the music itself?
No, I'd say music first. Almost always, yeah. Okay. And that's in the nature of the music. I'd say the music gives you ideas, and it grows. And it's sort of like this, as you say, it's layers and iterations, and it builds up to something. So it wouldn't be starting from a concept or a text or a lyric. It's not really how we work. That would be a more controlled way of writing songs, and it's not really how we do.
Do you try to like convey a certain message within the music at all, or is the music just totally up to the listener to take whatever they want from it?
I'd say that we leave there's always there is a message, and I think that when we write, we want to say something with our music and our lyrics. So we intentionally bring up subjects that are that concerns us and our lives and the society around us, and it's things that matter to us. But it also this thing that we leave it a bit open, because when you listen to something, we want the listener to be able to also contribute when you listen. That's one thing. For example, we always have these one-word titles in our songs, and one reason for that is that we just want to give so we set the stage with a word, like antagonist, and then you have to sort of work a little bit yourself as a listener to sort of create what it's about. It has to be. You have to be part of it as well,
Yeah.
as a listener. So instead of us just delivering everything on a silver plate, just here is what we mean, deal with it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great way of putting it, because even the word antagonist is so open to interpretation. Is that like were maybe you writing about a specific individual, or can antagonist almost mean like an internal sort of thing? So I think that's really good how you're able to kind of use one word, but at the same time, even though you're using one word, you're saying so much with it.
Mm. And it could be both, right? It's sort of like. And it's also like I'd say we can write lyrics with that concerns society, the society around us, to make a change, but we're never specifically political in any direction, because that's I don't think that's our role, to preach in that sense,
Yeah.
exactly what you should think and what you should and we don't never give you like solutions to problems. It's more just you have to find that yourself.
Yes.
It's not up to us.
I feel like that goes back to what you were saying about like the songwriting in general too. Like you don't want to suffocate it. You don't want to, put it on life support. You want it to be very organic. So I think if you were trying to convey a certain message and bending over backwards to do it, it would kill the songwriting as well.
Right. Yeah.
In order to get inspired, for that creative energy to flow through, do you almost kind of need to be in a specific place, or does inspiration for lyrics or for music just come out of nowhere sometimes?
Nah. Yeah. No. That's not so important. No. I mean, we write quite disciplined. When Martin and I, we meet up. And write songs for hours, and normally during the day. So we're quite disciplined, and the albums require a lot of hard work. So it's nothing that you can just that will just be birthed out of some crazy inspirational event. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We work hard on the albums.
Yeah, you don't want to wait for inspiration, right? Even if you sometimes have to yeah,
exactly.
Which is interesting, because upon hearing that, some people would think, oh, they're kind of forcing it, but it doesn't. I don't think your music is forced at all. That's very interesting how you have a disciplined songwriting structure, but it still comes very, very organic.
Yeah, exactly. It's more of that it making an album like this requires hours and hours and hours and hours of work, and then of course sometimes nothing comes, sometimes everything comes, but it's so you can have really productive days and you can have really really bad days, of course, but you really have to work for it. It's that just happens,
Yeah.
Unfortunately. It would be lovely if it happened.
Yeah, if you could just completely assembly line the art style.
You just sit around and wait, and it will just fall from the sky and just bam. Yeah.
I've heard stranger things happen in the world of art. So like, Welcome to the Jungle was written in 3 hours. So
that's funny, because I mean that can happen too. But it usually is sort of like, you can make that kind. That you write one song in the end of the recording production process after like 2 years of work, and it just takes like 2 days. That has happened, but that is also usually it comes after hours and hours and hours of work. Before that, if you have producing whole albums, something can happen. But it's because of all that work you have done before.
Do you find it maybe the longer you're working on something, the harder it is to kind of like maintain that creative spark or maybe capture a moment in the songs, or do you not even think about that?
No, I think I don't think that. I think you learn how to handle that. It's sort of like it's a process you can't control, but you can with the years you can learn how to yield that. You know,
Yeah.
that can, by it takes a lot of hours, but you know that it will eventually come when you after a lot of hard work.
Well, then here comes the most difficult question out of the interview. How do you know when a song is done?
It's really hard. It's really hard. And that's also that's something you basically have to learn to feel. It just feels right in your body, and it's really important to stop that. It's really important to feel that and put a stop to the because you can work on a song forever. You can work on a production forever, and there is always a sort of like a peaking point when a song is as good as it is, and then all the work you do just you know leads you downhill. The song just the more you work on it, the worse it gets, and you're starting to strangle it, choke it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I can't tell you. It would be wonderful if there was, a formula that, and the app that would say like ready, but it's just some kind of gut feeling that you need.
Absolutely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed chatting with you. Is there just anything else that you would like to promote for the release of Imperial, with maybe like a live stream performance to hold the fans over, or obviously when shows return again, bringing Soen on the road?
I mean, we're looking into that. It would be lovely, but we'll see. Guitarist Cody Ford is in Canada. Zlatoyar, the bass player, is in Kiev, so it's a bit hard to get everyone together. We'll see if we can make something. It would be lovely to do that.
Yeah.
We have to be creative in some way.
Yeah. You need a member in Australia just to make it more complicated.
And we really have to go to Australia. We have been trying now for a while, but I think we really,
Yeah.
should make that happen.
Yeah. Bringing like a progressive festival with like me, an Australian progressive festival with like you, Caligula's Horse, and Neil Bliviscaris or something like that.
Would be lovely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Joel, thank you
See.
so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Everybody, we are here with Joel of Soen, Imperial, coming out this January. Be sure to pick it up then. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.